Again, good morning. We're so glad you're here today. We're here because there's an important issue on the ballot October 24th for the community. And we're going to hear more from Superintendent Lewton in just a second. More practically, we're here because Sarah Trustum of the Dickinson Public Schools gave me a call about 2 months ago. Previously, she was the director at the Chamber. The Chamber has done informational breakfast events such as these. We line this up. The second decision she made for me, was that this event should be held in the high school cafeteria and commons area so that we see the existing space and then talk about the proposed alternative. This involved Dickinson and Williston volleyball went 5 sets last night, so the custodial staff here had to wait that match out, then help convert this space to be ready 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:15 for our breakfast event. But we are glad you're here. We're also here because when Sarah made the phone call to me, she told me we've got a community member and a business lined up who would sponsor this event and breakfast. Scott at Cornerstone Bank is our breakfast sponsor today. He's joined by Kyler from Cornerstone Bank. Kyler is the new president of the Chamber Board of Directors. Thank you, Cornerstone Bank, for sponsoring breakfast today. Breakfast provided by Sodexo. Let's give them a hand as well. Thank you very much. And with that, I think I get to go through the buffet line now. We're going to turn it over to Superintendent Lewton for his presentation. We anticipate leaving 15-20 minutes at the end for public question and comment. But for now, Superintendent, Dickinson Public Schools, Marcus Lewton.
All right, well, thank you. Thanks for coming here. My name is Marcus Lewton. I am the superintendent for Dickinson Public Schools. You're here because we have a bond referendum vote on October 24th, and I'm here to inform you. I can't say vote yes, I can't say vote no, but I do have a responsibility to inform you what those things mean. So really, from a Dickinson Public School standpoint, and I'm going to talk a little bit about history as we get in, but really there's 2 items that we're trying to solve. One is an increase in enrollment, and I'll share some things that we've done for a solution for that. And then also aging systems in our buildings. So many of our buildings are beginning to have some of the systems within them are aging out their lifespan. So first, in 2019 we had bond referendums, 2 of them failed. And we went to the community and we asked, what ideas do you have? We're out of space. And so they had some really good ideas, and we've implemented many of them. So they said, send kids to DSU. So we did that. We worked with DSU, they're a great partner. We have 55 students right now taking classes at DSU. Next semester we have 60. They've been just a tremendous asset to us in our community. That group said, start a virtual academy. A lot of kids want to be online, so we started a virtual academy. We have the Rough Rider Virtual Academy that works with Southwest High School. We also increased the number enrollment at Southwest High School, and combined we have 75 kids that 75 kids that take classes at those two buildings, or 2 entities. They said, buy an old building and fix it up and put kids in it. So we did that. We bought the Halliburton building. It allowed us to access over $21 million right now in state grants, local political subdivision gifts, and private donations. So we did all of that without going to referendum. We had an opening yesterday. Because of that CTE center that you see on the north side of town, we've also created a school to work program. So kids actually go out in the community, they work for employers, learn a skill or apply their skill, and they get credit for it. Those 5 things, so Rough Rider Virtual Academy, Southwest High School, DSU, the CTE Center, and School to Work, have allowed us to continue to use this building, even though it's at its capacity right now. Next year, when we start Building C at the CTE Center, every single period will be pulling about 300 kids out of this building alone every period to go somewhere else and take their class, essentially, which has allowed us to take our solution before on our referendum, and we've reconfigured that plan. And that's the plan that's on the ballot for October 24th. We wanted to make sure that it might be a viable plan for our community, so we sent a survey out, and I'll talk about that survey here in a little bit. First, some of the major issues that we have at the high school. We had a committee, a community committee 2 years ago, get together and look at our maintenance plan for DPS. We knew that we had some large ticket items, and so we engaged the community. After 6 months or so, they said, this is way too big. You need to hire a professional. So that's what we did. We hired Consolidated Construction out of Bismarck. They kind of specialize in developing maintenance plans for districts. So they did some work for us. They spent a couple weeks in our roofs, in our tunnels, and in our kitchens, and everywhere. And essentially they came back and said, you have about $60 million over the next 10 years that you got to remedy. So a large portion of that is at this high school, which is why we're proposing the plan we are. We believe that we can solve the rest of the issues in the district with what we receive in our property tax levy, but we can't solve all of them here. So some items you have here are obviously some roofing repairs. We have some sections of the roof that need replaced. We have our fire protection system, so the alarm system is original, 68. A couple years ago, the 600 pod, it malfunctioned. We couldn't find parts for it. We had to provide some accommodations for the fire department to allow us to continue to use that 600 pod until we found those parts. HVAC replacement. You probably saw pictures last year of the boiler and some of the flooding that occurred. We had some bad weather, but in August when we fired up the boiler, our control valve failed. And so Fred the janitor had to operate it manually for the year. We ordered the part because that boiler is the only, or there's two of them, but they're both down that hallway. Those two are the only model left. We have to have those parts manufactured. So we had them manufactured in August, and we got them in December. And we were worried to turn the system off. So we continued to operate it manually, which you probably had, if you have kids or grandkids, they probably talked about how hot or how cold it was in this building last year. But we were able to get that part installed in April or May, I believe. So we also have we need some electrical upgrades. The panels are original to 68. We can't find parts for them either. If you go in the auditorium, it's hot, it's stuffy. It's because that air handler, the panel that runs that air handler is defunct, and we can't fix it. We can't get parts for it. We also have a lot of ADA accommodations that need to be fixed, and I'll share some of those here in a little bit. And then safe and security. We would like to improve the safety and security in this building and some of our other buildings. So this really just speaks to how cut up this building is. So it was originally an open model, and then somewhere along the line we started building individual classes. The red rooms are those that do not meet the recommended square footage by the North Dakota Department of Public Instruction. The green are those that meet it, and the orange are those that exceed it. So that $35 million that we need for system upgrades in this building alone doesn't solve any of that problem at all. It doesn't solve that. We need to figure out something so we don't have 30 kids in a class of 600 square feet. This again just speaks to those pods again and how maybe they're not the best option right now. The green is areas that don't have any natural daylight. So we know that natural daylight has a huge impact on learning. It also has a huge impact on mental health. But those pods, a large percentage of them don't have any natural daylight. This is an example of a student who, if they had an ADA, if they had a disability, I like to say I don't, myself, This quarter mile isn't a big deal. My kids are both able-bodied, but if I had a student, if I had a child that had a disability, I would be concerned. So if you were to leave Mr. Warner's classroom right there, I believe it's Mr. Warner's social studies room, and you had a disability and you needed to use the elevator and you needed to get to the yellow building, because we have classes down there, you would leave the pod, you would go through the hallways, past the auditorium, past the art room, past the administration area, past the east entrance, into the 100 pod where you'd get on an elevator. And then you'd come out the elevator on the ground floor where you'd find a bathroom that was ADA accessible. The ones upstairs need upgrades. You'd walk past the wrestling room, past the gymnastics room, onto the basketball court of the old gym, and then onto the basketball court of the new gym, and then out the door into the yellow building, which isn't ADA accessible anyways. So that's over a quarter mile jaunt. So just speaks to that old part of the building and some of the issues that we're dealing with it. So this is that capital maintenance plan, just in a circle graph. You can see 35 million for DHS, which includes those outbuildings. I put this up here because that $60 million isn't going away. If there's I'm going to share what the cost of a yes vote is, and I'm going to share what the cost of a no vote is too. But we don't get to decide not to put a roof on Roosevelt. You know, we don't get to decide not to fix the HVAC system in the building. We don't get to decide not to fix some of our ADA issues if the bond votes no. And 81% of our expenditures are people. So I'm going to go into that in a little bit. This is September's enrollment, I think, and it just shows if we're just rolling kids ahead, so we're not counting for inward migration into Dickinson, the number of students we'll have in 8-9 years, as you can start to see, we're over 1,300 students. So we did ask the community. So bond referendums take a lot of work and a lot of soft costs. And so we asked the community about this solution. Is this solution something possible that you would support? And came back 64% of the over 1,500 households that took the survey said definitely yes or yes. When you break that down by age group, so they weight it. So older people get more of a point than younger people. Younger people don't vote for some reason. And when you do that, it comes to 57%, with 10 to 13% undecided, needing more information. In the state of North Dakota, you need 60% plus one vote. So the survey scientists that did this for us said this very well could be a likely solution for your community, with that 10 to 13% needing more information. We listened to the public for a solution for some of our elementary schools. That was not as favorable, so it was 40-some%, so that is not on the referendum. So what's in that plan? It's really simple. It's, well, it's not simple, but it's not much. It's classrooms, so it's classrooms with heat and air. It's cafeteria, as you can see. This is our, I didn't know if this is our cafeteria. So this is where 1,100 kids come for. They don't all come here, obviously. Many of them don't come here because it doesn't fit them, but it would provide a place for our kids to eat. So classrooms, cafeteria, and then secure entrances for elementary schools and this high school. In that plan, we're still working through it. One thing we were told last time was, you know, don't get the cart in front of the horse. Pass the bond before you spend money on architectural drawings and renderings and all that. So we don't have a whole bunch of renderings. We haven't done a bunch of drawings. We're seeing if this is what people want first. What it appears we'll be able to do though, and looking at the plan, is we'll have an addition of 110,000 square feet, removal of 90,000 square feet of the building that has a high cost renovation, and then a remodel or renovation of 108,000 square feet. So some people ask, why not renovate those pods? First, the cost. The cost analysis on it is close to building new. You have to have school still. Like, we have to have school for students over the next 4 years. We can't just tell them we're going to renovate a building. There's a lot of, the time frame's probably longer. There's a lot of unknowns. When I talk to some construction managers in town, they have some fears with those pods and how to renovate them and some of the things that we might run into, and so possible cost overruns. They're fairly inefficient. There's a lot of wasted room in some back parts of the classrooms because it's a circle or a decagon, I guess, probably. Classrooms are trapezoids, so setting up desks, setting up tables is tough. It's just an inefficient space. And then, yeah, I covered those. Oh, there's the disruption, right? If you got construction in one of your pods and you have to move kids elsewhere, probably not here, somewhere else, and then you move teachers and you have construction going on in your building, that can be fairly disruptive to the learning environment. There's a real cost to it, and so we need to be very upfront and communicate that. You can go on our website. There's a tax calculator on our website. If you don't know the true and full value of your house, the Stark County Auditor's website's there. You can click on that and you can type in your address and you can find out the true and full value of your house. For every $100,000 your house is worth, it's $11.59 a month, or $139 a year. So. One thing that's kind of tricky in the state of North Dakota, the ballot language has to read taxable value. And there's a difference between true and full value and taxable value. So true and full value is usually about what your houses can sell for, maybe a little less. Taxable value is half of your true and full value times 9%. I don't know why they came up with that. I have no idea. But the ballot language says taxable value. So as an example, this $200,000 house that we have up here, the taxable value is $9,000. So it's $30 on every $9,000 is the way the ballot language reads. That's important to know. So why is the state not paying for this? I don't think they're going to. Our assistant superintendent and some individuals from our community, our legislators before COVID, had tried working on, is there a way the state can help schools? Then COVID happened and that committee kind of fell apart and schools passed referendums. So just in our area, if you think about the way legislature works, legislators get together and they help solve problems, common problems. Well, Killdeer, Richardson, New England, South Hart have all solved their high school problem. They all have new schools, or they've remodeled, or they've renovated. Class A schools, Mandan, Minot, Williston, Watford City, they've all solved their high school problem. So it's hard for our legislatures to go to the legislature and say, hey, let's solve this funding problem for schools, right? When other schools or other communities have solved that. But they have done a ton to buy down property tax. So they went from 108 in 2007, 185 mills to 110 to 70 mills right now. So they have taken over a majority of the cost of public education. Matter of fact, it's around that 60% for us. Local is about 23%. Yeah, 23%. So they have taken on a large cost of public education. They've also provided income tax relief this biennium. So they went from 5 to 3 brackets. The bottom bracket doesn't pay anything. The top bracket pays about 2.5%. Property tax credit, next year, you can apply for a $500 property tax credit for your primary dwelling. They're figuring out how that application works yet, the process works yet. But it's $500. And then they've done a lot for our elderly. So I think that's important. I think societies are judged in how they take care of their young and their elderly. And so if you're over 65 and you make under $40,000 and up to $9,000 taxable value house, or your primary resident is 100% reduction on your property tax, up to $9,000 taxable value. And then if it's 40 to 70,000 that you make a year and you're over 65, it's half of that. I think that's important, and there's no asset cap anymore. So if you have money in the bank or you have a lot of assets, that doesn't count anymore. I think that's huge. I think that's a good thing because they keep people in their houses, right? So that's a good thing. I think it's also important to note that we've passed a lot of referendums and we've failed referendums. Our first referendum that we passed was in 1884, and it was a 38-0, and it was for, I believe, $2,400 schoolhouse. Since that time, we've passed 9 others, and it's interesting. I think of my great-grandfather, my grandfather, from 1950 to 1968, we passed 4 referendums. That's crazy to think about. We built 4 schools in that time. But also since that time, we've, for 20 times, we've built schools or made major additions without having a referendum. And it's important to note that Century Code, this is the only way we can solve this issue of this magnitude. We can't have sales tax and those types of things. A property tax levy is the only solution that we have for this type of problem, or this size of problem. So I talked a lot about what a yes vote means and what the cost is. So a little bit about what a no vote is. That $60 million is not going away. So if there's a no vote, the board will have to wrestle with a lot of items. So I mentioned 81% of our expenditures are people. So we've done a little bit of work just to see what it could cost. How would we solve some of, or gain some revenue to solve some of that? The first is transportation. So when we take out what the state gives us and take out what parents put in for transportation, each route costs us $45,000. So can we expand our walk zone from a half mile to mile? Can we redistrict, and maybe some interior schools don't have bus routes? Can we try and get rid of some of those bus routes to shore up some money? That's one thing that the board could look at. That's a very real possibility. Another is elective programs, or just programs in general. Class sizes in the elementary, elective programs in the high school, middle school. We know that when you look at supplies and equipment and people, each program is about $100,000. So can we eliminate some of those programs, much like stuff I was talking about yesterday at the CTE center, or in our elementaries or wherever. But the point is, I don't think any school is going to be immune to some of these solutions, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. And then the last one is activities. We spend on average, the general fund, about $11,306 on activities. That includes, some are very expensive and some are much less. But do we go to more of a pay-to-play model? So parents pay the complete cost of whatever activity or sport their child's in. Do we eliminate some teams from numbers of activities? So instead of a sports team having four teams, maybe they have 2 or 3. We think we could solve or shore up some money there. And then the board doesn't levy as many mills as it can. So there are some miscellaneous mills they could levy. It doesn't get us to that $60 million, obviously. But they could look at increasing the levies or mills on the miscellaneous levy. If you need information, you can go to our website. There's so much information on that website. If there's something that you want to see that's not on there, let us know. The tax calculator's on there. You can put that in there. If you have questions, you can call Stephanie. She'll help you. Stephanie Hunter at the central office. But there's a plethora of information on that website. And I think it's important to share all the accomplishments too. So when you look at adversity, then you sometimes forget to recognize all the great things you've done. And our staff and our students have accomplished so much. We do a state of the district, so at the end of our state of the district every year we celebrate things we've done. So this is last fall's. but there's, state championships on there, individual and team. There's national officers on clubs on there. There's teachers being recognized by the county, by the state. There's just lots of good things that are going on in our community. And we need to remember that, I think. So you can vote on, we tried to make it as easy as possible. So you can absentee ballot, you can go down, you can send that in, or you can go down to the Stark County or Dunn County and fill that out, and they'll give you your absentee ballot. You can vote on October 24th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Tried to make it as easy as possible. Heart River on the south, Prairie Rose on the north, Jefferson on the west, Lincoln on the east you can vote on. There's one more public forum. That's on Tuesday, October 17th in the Dickinson High School auditorium at 5:30. I'd love to take your questions.
My daughter Marley and I were driving up here visiting one point that we had, and I've been through this presentation 4 or 5 times, is the fact that if some of your companies are recruiting somebody to move here, I mean, we've got a great community center, rec center, new hospital, and a big selling point is schools. And when they walk here and they look at the school, it's like, nope, we're gonna go someplace else.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's something, I mean, that's just a point that needs to be made.
I'll be the runner here with the microphone back and forth. This is how I get my steps in today. And that you might have a response to that.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bernie, that the high school is a little bit of a sore thumb, right? And that if you're recruiting a doctor or a CPA or a teacher, it's not easy to find teachers today either. We need to do some work on this high school. And if you're moving into town, this could be a hindrance, I would say. And I have had people mention that to me, so that's a great point. Yeah.
Thank you all for being here. Dr. Lewton in Mandan, Williston, Watford City have all passed bond referendums in those communities to get their schools built. Do you know if there's anything that they did differently than what we're looking at and the struggles we've had in the past 4 or 5 years to get this done?
Let's start. Williston, I don't know much about. That was during the boom, but let's start with recent. So Minot had a large lot of land donated to them, and I think that's part of what maybe pushed them over. Very similarly, although we purchased, but we got it at a steal, we had our CTE center, right? And we've since accessed, I mentioned $21 million, which has made the ask here a tremendous less. So it's essentially saved us 60,000 square feet. So if you take $500 a square feet, it saved us $30 million off this ask. So something very similar happened in Minot, I would say, as this. Mandan, a couple years ago, they did use some grant funds, some ESSER funds. We have managed our grant funds very effectively in the last few years. And so we've been able to build up our building fund a little bit, and we're going to use that for our contingency. We've also sold properties, knowing that this might come and knowing that we have some major renovations to happen, because 69 million is going to be tough. You can ask some of the construction guys in here if you want. It's tough. The architectural firms but it's our threshold that our community said they can possibly support. So we have managed our grants good. I'm an ag teacher. We've managed them well. Sorry, I do have a doctorate. My wife did all the work for me. We've managed them well, and so we've been responsible, and we've built up our building fund enough to be protective of contingency overrun costs. And then we're in the process. We've sold a property in August, and we just sold one a couple weeks ago, and we have another one if this passes that we'll sell to free up some of those funds to make sure that we can get what the community needs. So, good question.
We've got 2 weeks before election day. Mr. Luton's been doing an amazing job promoting it, but as leaders of the community, you need to be visiting. I mean, you have contact with way more people. And if you hear naysayers or people that may not vote, it's your job to go out there and promote it also.
Good morning. You spoke about the ADA inefficiencies that you have going on currently. With this new bond, will that solve the ADA, or what is the plan going forward for that?
Regarding ADA, yeah, well, if it fails, if there's a no vote, we got to respect that. But we have, there's 14 bathrooms for females on this floor. And those bathrooms are not ADA compliant. We got to start solving some of that. The problem is you have fewer bathrooms then too when you start becoming ADA compliant. You have fewer classroom space, you have fewer hallway space. So if you go into the bathrooms, you'll recognize there's going to have to be some major construction in an old building. If this passes, yes, we will solve that. The older part of the building will be removed, right? Some of the old part of this build, where we're at now, we'll have to remedy those ADA downstairs. Some of our bathrooms, our locker rooms are not compliant either, so we'd have to fix those. That would be in part of that solution. So if it passes, yes. If it fails, then it's how do we shore up that money to begin working on some of those issues. Yep. I don't even know how to solve like the yellow building issue. I don't have an idea for that. We're not going to put $4 million into a building that has 6 classrooms, 7, 8 classrooms, right? That structure is still good for the most part for like storage, but it was a steel building. It was a Band-Aid in '78 when it was built because we were out of space then. I don't think it's a wise use of taxpayer dollars to stick $4 million into that steel building down there. So there are some, but we need that classroom space. So yeah, we're gonna have to think way outside the box on some of these issues if the bond fails. So.
Hi guys, I'm Allie Goodall. I'm a senior here at Dickinson High School. I've been in the school programs. I really have struggled here the last couple of years as more and more kids have been coming through. The hallways are so congested that it's rare to get to class on time. Going down to the yellow building, I've watched kids that are in crutches almost eat it going down the hill to get to the yellow building, and there's no way to get around it besides, like he said, with the quarter-mile walk, you have to go all the way around. As more and more students are coming in, I know I'll be gone and that it directly affect me anymore, but even just in the last 4 years of being here, I've just seen everything just go downhill with more and more kids starting to come through. It's a different change for sure to have a referendum for here passed considering how old our school is and no one's seen anything like it. But like I said, coming from a student who's been here for so long, it's honestly just embarrassing when people come here. Nobody's proud of our school. Nobody wants to show pride in a place that's so run down, and we've all been trying to get something changed for years, and it'd be nice to not be sitting in a classroom that's 80 degrees or in a classroom that's 60, because that happens a lot. We've done everything we can as students to try and promote the bond referendum to pass, because a lot of us that go to school here have been here for our whole lives, and all we want is some change so that other students can have a better experience than we did.
The only comment I'd have on that is, Allie, getting late to class, you gotta put the phone down.
Well, I don't know if I'm supposed to editorialize it all, but I did see a slide up there that gave 100 reasons for Dickinson Public School students to be proud of accomplishments. The question before the voters is a building and the cost of not building as well. But be proud of many accomplishments. Okay. Others looking to speak.
I'm just going to add to Allie's statement. I have a daughter that it's her first year here at DHS and a son that's in grade school. So my daughter probably will have to, fingers crossed, live through the construction of the new high school. But, you know, we have a middle school that's gorgeous. As Mr. Lewton was saying, the natural light for learning and mental health. And she came down here this year and she goes, "Mom, it's a dungeon." So thinking about our future students and from the elementary schools that have had great remodels and they're gorgeous and the kids enjoy them, to going to the middle school, which is a great facility. It aids in all the kids that are there, to having their freshman year here, and my daughter's words, walking into a dungeon.
Yeah. I would just add to that, that really speaks to the trying to throw good money at an old problem, bad problem, right? So that 35 million doesn't provide more light, doesn't provide solutions to some of our learning environment issues, doesn't provide classroom space that's adequate. Yeah, so that's a great point. Thank you so much.
I have a grandson who's in first grade, and it's a long ways away from high school, but I'm worried about, is it going to be this bad or worse when it's time to go to high school? So I guess now's the time to take care of it, so all the kids coming up will have it much better.
There's two great points in there. The first is the largest class in the district is second grade. It's like 370 kids. The other point you kind of made was if you have a fourth or a fifth grader, they'd be the first freshman in this building. So it takes a long time to build a high school. And if you think that it's for high school kids, I'm sorry, it's not. It's for the fifth grade class, really, right? So.
I can't not say anything. I was a former educator here for 7 years in the district, and first of all, thank you, Dr. Lewton. He's an incredible leader and leads with his heart, which is pretty important for us. But as an educator, what I'd like to say is I firmly believe that schools are the foundation of a strong community. One of the reasons I love Dickinson is because we have a strong sense of community here, and we support each other. And in order to keep a community that's as strong as ours, you have to have good schools. Because guess what happens? My kids are now in college, and I cry all the time. But my hope is that they'll come back because they want to raise their kids here too. So for us that have kids that are older, it's a pay it forward kind of thing for the younger kids and their families, that they want their kids to come home too and raise their kids here too in a good school district. So I guess my opinion is, as an educator again, is let's have a strong community. Let's support our schools by continuing to support and grow what we have in this opportunity to build this new school.
I'm Rich Wardner, past state senator, past assistant principal at this place, an educator, coach, so I've been around the block a bit. There's some things I want to make sure we emphasize. First of all, whoops. Sorry about that. First of all, I want to remind you that Marcus Lewton played 9th grade football for me, and he knocked the snot out of you. He was a good hitter. So I just want to put in a good word for him there. First of all, what he said is absolutely true. And I want to tell you that the state, and I wasn't in the session last session, but they did appropriate $500 for people that live in the state and have a home. You can apply for that. That is not something that's not going to happen. Your money, you're going to be money ahead. If you got to pay $140 a year, and you're going to get $500 relief, I think that's going to take care of it. So I want to emphasize that. The other thing, I was at another forum and someone said, well, how come Dickinson Public Schools has to take care of the faculty out at the Career and Tech? They don't. Dickinson State takes care of that. They have a partnership, they have a memorandum of understanding between the two institutions, and Dickinson State is going to be help raising money, putting it in a trust fund to help run that place out there. And as Dr. Lewton mentioned that night, the reimbursement from the state for a center versus having Career and Tech in this building is much greater. So we're way ahead. And then I said this yesterday out there at the little gathering we had, when you look at the big picture, you know, I understand dealing with these young people. They quit school. They quit. They hit 16 and I'm out of here. They don't have any skills. That career and tech center is going to make a big difference. They may not take Red Lit and they may leave before they can graduate, but they're going to have a skill. So what this school district has done, they've gone above and beyond trying to meet the needs and take care of the public. I think our school board and this one and those that have gone before have done a heck of a job of trying to take care of students and appease the taxpayer. They really have. He mentioned all those things. He's right on the money. Bernie also mentioned something. When I was at the Chamber of Commerce, people would come in there all the time and ask about the community. They asked about the school district. They wanted to know about the schools. And he's right. This high school is a limiting factor, and we do have major companies looking to come here. We've got to address this issue. So I'm telling you, all the numbers he's given, and I'm really proud of it, by the way, he's honest. He gives you both sides. He's my kind of guy. And I'm telling you, he is not trying to slip one in and try to trick you. So, thank you, Dr. Lewton, and thank you to the school board that's in place.
The only thing that I'd add, and my boss is in the front row here, so I got to be careful. The board has done a tremendous job, but also DSU and Trinity and us working together on that project, that's what makes it work here. That's why we softball and soccer and CTE, it doesn't work because of me, it works because of us. So I think that's an important thing to say.
Hi, I'm Chandra Klusman, and I have a kindergartner and a second grade in Roosevelt. And so my previous job for 8 years was financial advisor. So when I'm talking to people about their 401ks, I'm saying, you're young, why not pay those taxes now? Taxes are never going away, and they're always going to continue to rise. If we continue to wait, cost is just going to continue to go up, and then we're all going to complain about even more tax money. So just a thought. Also, saving your Roth.
Yeah, I'm not one to talk about construction costs and escalations, but there's guys in here that are, and I 8% last year or something like that. Okay, yeah, it only gets more and more expensive. The 69 now would have been much less 5 years ago. I mean, everybody knows that. I don't think I'm a brain scientist on that. But.
Last call, certainly your question could come offline or after the cameras are turned off for the day. Last call, public question or comment. I want to thank the Dickinson High staff that helped convert the space and make this happen. That includes Principal Brandt there, Activities Director Fridley, Mr. Cranston. We have breakfast for a few more. You could take a second trip through the line. We could have Dickinson High faculty, staff, student groups given an opportunity for breakfast here in the next 15 minutes. If we cooked a little extra, or we were aiming for 100, if we came up short of that, maybe in part it's because Mr. Lewton's spoken in front of 55 different community groups at this point. Date of vote is October 24th. He provided the information. Go be heard on October 24th. We appreciate you coming. Thank you for the partnership. Have a great day, everybody.